What's going on, guys? It's your boy Christian and welcome you faces back to another video. In today's video, we're actually taking the Sony A7II in the next beginner's guide episode, and in this one we're going to be talking about the metering mode. In this video, we're going to be talking about what is metering mode, why would you need to use metering mode, and basically what are the differences in the metering modes here in the Sony A7II. And then we're also going to be summing up how do you get to metering modes at the end of the video to just pull it all together. So let's go ahead and talk about basically what is metering mode. So firstly, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Sony A7II Beginner's Guide series. Now, we've been having a lot of good responses from this series. So remember, if you want to see anything specific on the Sony A7II, make sure you drop those comments down below. But let's go ahead and jump into episode, I believe, 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be talking about metering mode. So let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, what is metering mode? Metering mode is basically telling the camera what you want it to read across the screen to be able to give you an exposure rating. So you usually have 3 different types of metering modes. You usually have a center metering mode, you have a multi-metering mode, and then you have a spot metering mode. And those are going to be the same 3 that you have here in the Sony A7II. So if you were looking to basically have the camera give you an exposure reading based off of everything on the screen, no matter if your subject's in the middle or they're off to the left or off to the right. This is going to be something similar to focus area mode, but metering mode is going to work adjacent with the exposure on the camera. So I know it's kind of confusing. I jumped in from the last episode, but metering mode, basically, if you had it on multi, like what I'm using right here on my Sony A7IV, this is gonna use the whole screen to basically give me an average of what I should set my exposure to. And that's basically the gist of metering mode. A lot of people don't even change or move their metering modes, but I will be going over some case scenarios of why you would want to use those metering modes in different case scenarios. Now, why would you want to use this? Why do you need to know about this? Well, this is going to make you a little bit more proficient with your Sony A7II, and depending on the situation you've been, handed, you're going to be able to know exactly what your camera needs to be able to shoot and get the exposure and the creative look that you're looking for out of either your photos or out of your videos. Now, metering mode does go hand in hand with both. You can use it in photos and videos. In videos, it's just going to do the same thing. In photos, it's basically doing the exact same thing. So this is universal. This isn't tailored towards photos and or videography. This is going to be across the board here in metering mode on the Sony A7II. So we're going to start at the top. At the top, I've already kind of talked about it, and that's going to be multi-metering mode. And basically what that's going to do is take the whole frame, give you an exposure rating depending on everything that's in the frame, and make sure your image isn't like blown out over there in the corner or too dark here on the other corner. It's going to make sure everything is being kind of averaged together to give you a correct exposure rating. Now, if you was to use the center metering mode, it's only going to read everything in the center and give you an exposure rating off of that area. And basically spot works the same way. It's just a circle instead of a box that's in the center, so it's a little bit more pinpoint and accurate. Now, why would you want to use this, or why is this important in any video or photo that you shoot here on the Sony A7II or across any Sony camera? Because these are going to be kind of redundant when you get into the newer cameras. Now, you might have something different that is actually in the Sony A7 III and 4, and that's going to be entire screen average, but that's not in the Sony A7II, so we're not going to talk about that. And basically the basic 3 that you're going to use across basically any camera is going to be multi, center, and spot metering modes. Now, you will want to use a spot or a center metering mode if you're trying to do a different composition. Say if you were looking directly at something and you're trying to spot it and pinpoint that object specifically, like me here in the middle of the frame. If I wanted to get the perfect exposure off of me being in the center, I would set it to either center or spot metering mode. Now, if I wanted to have the whole frame be in focus, well, not in focus, have the whole frame be kind of, put together, and then I get a exposure reading off of the whole frame, that's when you want to use multi. So that is actually going to be it here. I'm going to show you guys how to get to it on the Sony A7II. Now, usually you would have an FN menu. We did talk about the FN button in, I believe, our second beginner's guide episode, but we went over the user interface, the mode dial, and everything here on the Sony A7II, so you guys should know what the FN button does. Now, if you hit that FN button, you should have metering mode. It should be the second tab down, well, second row down, and it should be the second one in that row. Now, usually this is, like I said, set to multi. Usually you don't have to change it. Usually you don't have to mess with it, but if you're looking for any creative stylistic looks where you want your subject to be kind of exposed right, and maybe your background overexposed or underexposed, that's one of the reasons, or one of the real ways that you can use metering mode, and it actually will make a difference. So now we're going to show you guys how to get to it using the menu system here on the Sony A7II. What you want to do is you want to hit that menu button, you want to stay in that camera icon on the front, and then you want to go over to menu number 4. In menu number 4, that's where you will have your metering mode right there, and it should be able to tell you exactly which one you're in, and this is going to be basically exactly what the FN menu does. So if you want to get to it quicker, just use the FN menu, but if you wanted to use the actual menu system, that's where it's located, and that's how you get to it. Anyways, guys, that's going to be actually it for this episode of the Sony A7II Beginner's Guide. Hope you guys have been enjoying. We just went over focus mode, focus area, and we just did, in this video, metering mode. And in the next video, I'm not sure what we're going to do, so make sure you guys leave comments down below. But it's been your boy Christian. Hope you guys have been enjoying. If you have, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for the next video on the Sony A7II Beginner's Guide. I'll see you guys on the next one.